two rectangular prisms each have the volume of 120 cubic centimeters. The base of prism A is 2 centimeters by 4 centimeters. The base of prism B is 4 centimeters by 6 centimeters. Find the height of each prism. Okay, so the first thing I notice, that we have a volume of 120 cubic centimeters. Prism A has the base of 2 centimeters by 4, and prism B has 4 centimeters by 6. So I know that I'm going to have to find two different heights. I'm going to have two different problems here. I'm going to start by separating the two, and I'm going to have prism A here, and then I'm going to skip some space over here and write prism B. So I have area for work for both. Okay, so I know I'm relating with volume, and the volume formula for a rectangular prism, because it says rectangular prism in the problem, is V equals length times width times height. So I'm going to include that for both prisms. Okay, I'm going to focus just on A to start with, and then I'll solve for the height, and then I'll go over to prism B. So I know I have to fill out the information that I know in this equation. Do I know the volume? Yes, it's 120. So I'm going to rewrite this so it's 120 equals, do I know the length of prism A? Well, yeah, it tells me it's 2 centimeters. Do I know the width? Well, yeah, it tells me the other base is 4, so 2 by 4, so 2 times 4, times, do I know the height? I do not, so that's the missing information. So really, the equation for this problem is 120 equals 2 times 4 times h. Okay, so in order to solve this, I'm going to go ahead and multiply 2 and 4 together. So really, I have 120 equals 8h. And now this is just a problem that I have solved in the past. Draw your line down the equal sign to keep the two sides separate. My goal is to get h by itself, and right now it's being multiplied by 8. So to undo multiplying by 8, I divide both sides by 8. On the left side, I end up with 15 equals h. So the height of prism A equals 15 centimeters. I'm going to write prism A. I've solved my first height. But now I have to do the same thing for prism B. Again, I know the volume is 120 because they're both the same. Equals the length of prism B, according to the directions or the question, is 4 centimeters, times the width, which is 6 centimeters, times the height, which I don't know. So again, this is the equation I'm solving. So I go ahead and multiply 4 times 6, and I get 120 equals 24h. And now I'm going to go ahead and solve for h. Again, draw your line down the equal sign, and to get h by itself, I need to undo it, what's happening to it. So I'm going to divide both sides by 24. And when I do that, I get 5 equals h. So prism B has a height of 5 centimeters. So I've answered part A for both prism A and prism B. And then I read B. Which prism has the lesser surface area? So in order to do that, I actually have to find the surface area of both prisms and then compare the numbers. And the one that has the lesser surface area is my answer. So again, I'm going to do the same thing. I have prism A and prism B. And my goal is to find surface area. So now I got to think back to what I did before. Well, I know the formula for surface area is S equals 2 times the length times the width, plus 2 times the width times the height, plus 2 times the length times the height. And this formula, again, is going to be the same for both because they're both rectangular prisms. So S equals 2 times the length times the width, plus 2 times the width times the height, plus 2 times the length times the height. And now I can find this answer because I actually know the height of both prisms since I found them in part A. So prism A, 2 times the length, which was 2, times the width, which was 4, plus 2 times the width, which was 4, times the height, which I found to be 15, plus 2 times the length, which is 2, times the height, which I found to be 15. And then I have to calculate this. So I'm going to do all the multiplying and then do the adding at the end. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 4 is 16, plus 2 times 4 is 8, and 8 times 15 is 120, plus 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 15 is 60. And then when I add these values together, 16 plus 120 plus 60, I get 196 centimeters squared because we're now talking surface area. Now we have to go to prism B so that we can compare it. So I'm going to pick a different color here. 2 times the length of prism B was 4, times the width, which was 6, plus 2 times the width, which was 6, times the height we found to be 5, plus 2 times the length, which is 4, times the height, which we found to be 5. And again, I'm going to do the same idea with solving this. 2 times 4 is 8, and 8 times 6 is 48, plus 2 times 6 is 12, and 12 times 5 is 60, and then plus 2 times 4 is 8, and 8 times 5 is 40. So then when I add these, I get 148 centimeters squared. Okay, so then I go back to the question, which prism has the lesser surface area? Well, 148 is less than 196, so my answer is going to be prism B. And I've answered the question.